Now we're going to move one, as John said, it may not be that costly. You can work around it. You can back out of it. Here's one that you really could really be detrimental in retirement. We've talked about
clobber you.
Yeah, the first half of this segment was about putting money into accounts for retirement. This part is about taking money out in retirement, and that involves an RMD. Now, many people now know what that means. We've talked about it many times on this show recently because of all the changes to the ages that require it, but it is a required minimum distribution. Used to be 70 and a half. They've changed it to 72. Now they're talking about moving it from 72 up to 75. That hasn't happened yet. Right now it's still 72. But if you don't start taking the required minimum distribution at your appropriate age, John, it can cost you big.
Well, if you take a look at what the law says the penalty is 50% of what you should have taken out. Now, that penalty does not include the tax that was owed on that. So let's just say that you had to take out a $10,000 required minimum distribution from your IRA, but you blew it. You missed it. So the penalty is $5,000 alone. And then you apply the tax to the $10,000 that you should have taken out, which would be, somewhere around $3,000 or so. And so now you're looking at almost all of that required minimum distribution going to the government in the form of either a penalty or a tax. It is incredibly onerous.
And this happens at a time kind of like what we referenced earlier on Medicare, but this is even farther along in life. Some people are still cognitively just completely on it, and others are not. And so if you're looking at ages 72 and beyond, it gets to a point where there's a risk of you just accidentally not taking it because you weren't aware that you had to. So it's very important to understand ahead of time the distribution requirements that you have and to work with somebody who's going to facilitate that process. That's something, guys, that we do really all year. It's part of our annual review process. Even if we're meeting with you in January, we're touching base on that. But by the end of the calendar year, our team has done a review across, everybody who is required to take a minimum distribution and looked at whether or not that is satisfied. It's very important.
There is legislation, as you referenced, Scott, moving through Congress right now to move the required minimum distribution from age 72 up to age 75, and they're going to actually do that, it looks like, in phases. Of course, nothing's ever settled until the law is signed by the president, but if they do that, then there's going to be some changes there. And I hear that there's also looking at some changes to reduce this penalty because a lot of congressmen are going, that's just that's
onerous.
It's way too much. And so some things there to be aware of coming down the pike, and we'll keep you up to date on that as we get more information as that legislation moves through.
Want more content like this delivered to your inbox weekly? Visit fastest4.com to learn more.